Welcome to Brothers King Media, where we view eternity through the lens of art. My name is Samuel,
And I'm Solly.
and today we're continuing our discourse through the discography of the David Crowder Band. And we're moving on to album number 4, though it feels a lot longer because we've been doing all the EPs and the long stretch of time. And gosh, we probably started this back in the beginning of June.
Oh yeah, we started it like in the very beginning of summer.
So now, I know time is irrelevant to podcasting because you could be listening to this 10 years from now. But with that said, I can't believe it's already been like 3 months we've been doing this.
I doubt people will be listening to it 10 years from now.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe we'll be famous when we're dead. Okay, sorry. No bitterness here.
So, with that said, we are moving on to the album Remedy by David Crowder Band. And I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right in where we always do with production credits. And this album is a little bit unique, as I believe it's the first album we've seen where it's basically wholly produced by them. Like, there's a few other credits mixed in and out. They have like an engineer credit that goes to someone else. That makes sense. Of course, Louis Giglio gets his executive producer credit.
Even though he probably had nothing to do with the album. Probably didn't even know the thing exists.
And, well, he knows when he gets the paycheck in the mail.
He's like, oh, okay. Don't know what this is from, but okay. I'll take the money.
And then, but other words, just the band members that get the credit as producers, recording, etc., which I find really cool. And also, on a production note, I guess this kind of leans a little bit into the music, but I like that this album. Remember, I said back when we first started that it'd be kind of cool if they did their first album with modern production.
Right.
Well, really, that's what this album ends up being.
Yeah. This ends up being their first modern production album.
Not really, no. The other albums had good production, modern production. What I mean by that is that this is the album where they kind of took just the more standard worship songs and just added really good production value to them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
So, I listened to this album a couple times over the past couple weeks, and by golly, I really enjoyed it.
I always enjoyed it. This is one of the albums that I could fall asleep to.
So, what's your earliest memory of this album then?
My earliest memory. Okay, yeah. Actually, it wasn't even my CD. Once again, it was Steven's, and I had finally had my own bedroom after he had moved out, and I just went through all of his stuff that he had left, and found this CD, and I was like, I'll just listen to this, I guess, and fell asleep to it. It kind of set me in a prayerful mood.
I like, honestly, this was one of my last David Crowder Band albums to buy. Not buy on purpose or anything. It was just the last one I happened to find in a store where I could buy it.
Right.
But with that said, I used to not like this album as much because, for one, it comes right after A Collision.
Yeah.
And it was a few weeks ago now, but we spent a whole entire hour just sobbing over why that was such a good album.
Yes.
So after that album, this one I was just like, yeah, I'm unimpressed. With that said,
well, it just depends on. It depends on what they were trying to do with the album. You got to think, because like last album was very, very like rocky, and this one was more like worshipful, like you said.
Yeah, they both have good worship numbers. They both have good rock numbers in them. What I like about this album is I was reading an interview once, and David Crowder was saying how he isn't sure about singing about heaven as much because, not because he has anything against songs about heaven, but because he feels like we should be striving to bring heaven down to earth, and therefore, and not just focusing all our energy on just waiting till we get to heaven. So I find it interesting that on the last album, which had the most to do with heaven, because it was all about death and going to heaven and stuff,
right?
That this album, the whole entire concept of Remedy, because every album is basically a concept album in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And the basic concept of the album Remedy is let's bring heaven to earth. Let's be the remedy to the world.
Right.
And to kind of prove that point, we'll talk about this more on the next album, but like during the tour, like they didn't tour in any traditional Christian venues. Instead, they went to like the House of Blues and places that would not be traditional places for a worship artist, especially to play at.
Right.
And they booked all their shows there, and they did like food drives and stuff to kind of prove their point of, you know, we're trying. This is
We're the remedy. Like
we're the remedy for the world.
Yeah, instead of waiting for the world to come to the church, bring the church to the world. And
Yeah.
That's the remedy, because like a lot of times you find that the world is too afraid. A lot of times the world's too afraid to come to the church.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know what it's like. So they're like, well, let's just show them that they don't have anything to be afraid of.
Yeah, absolutely.
What the church really is supposed to.
So on a thematic level, this album works very, very well.
Right.
I feel like
it does. Very
and
consistent.
It is very consistent, and I also, now I said before I was disappointed in this album in Once Upon a Time, and the reason why is after the grand concepts of A Collision and also the kind of rock opera-ness of that album, this album is very much, it's a bunch of radio singles. Like, I really get the feeling for this album, their record label went, and I doubt this is true, but in my head, this is how this conversation went. Your last album was great, but it didn't have enough radio singles on it.
Right.
So I need your next album to be nothing but radio singles. And they said, okay, challenge accepted. Because every song on this album could be a single on the radio.
Right.
Like there's,
yeah.
like every song on this album could be on the radio.
In fact, like 12 of them are.
Well, a good chunk of this album did wind up on the radio.
Right.
Like look through the track listing. I know
Everything Glorious, Never Ending.
Never Ending didn't go on the radio, but Everything Glorious definitely did. I know Never Let Go did. Oh for a Thousand Tongues did. And I want to say Remedy did too.
Yeah, I think Remedy is.
So at least 4
of the
songs.
Well, that was their single, obviously, for this.
Yeah. So at least a bare minimum of 4 songs went on the radio. And I know Can You Feel It wound up on their greatest hits record.
Can you feel it?
So I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being a single as well. And we just didn't hear it on our side of the town. So that's why I was initially disappointed in it. But going back to the theme of bringing the remedy to the world, that kind of works on that level too. Of we're going to be very accessible and very like they're in top form. Like I have never had anything against their radio singles, and this is the cream of the crop.
I mean, at least their radio singles don't all sound the same.
Exactly. And someday we'll have to go apologize to that guy if he ever hears this. But on that level, this album works super well, and I like that. So let's go ahead, unless you have something else to say about the thematic elements.
I think just all I can say is that I think it all goes well together for what they're trying to do. I would have done the same thing, boys. Well done.
Also, I will throw out Mark Waldrop's. This is his debut album.
Oh yeah, this is his first album. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And you can hear that. You can hear it, and the very slightly, but you have to be a guitarist to be able to, because every guitarist has their own sound.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason Sully's sound was very almost, I want to say grungy, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like he was a mixture of like everything. Where Mark, he's very pop rock,
mm-hmm.
the way he plays, and he's straight rhythm. Where Jason Sully, he'd throw in a little lick there or whatever. Mark Waldrop does a lot of that now with the digital age, but at this point, Jack is full on lead guitarist.
Yeah.
Because him and Jason Sully kind of like would just kind of like
trade the
like in the middle of a lead, it's like, I'm gonna play up to this point and then you're gonna take over. Okay, it's gonna be really cool. People are gonna freak out.
And no one did. But
no one did.
I think also it has to do with Mark Waldrop probably being the youngest member.
Right.
He was the newest member, etc.
He was actually, I think, like that. they said in an interview, I forget, I don't know if it was like a digital age interview or what it was, but I had a kick where I was just watching all their videos, and Mike D, and then it was Mike D and then Mark Waldorf. They were the two youngest. Mike D was like, yeah, I'd been in the band for such and such amount of time, and then Mark just turned 18, and he's like, I want to be in the band. So we said, okay, newbie.
Yeah. So I think he was attending the same college they all came from, though.
Yeah, he was the new guy. I think one of the documentaries they make fun of him because he's the new guy.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because Hogan's like, hey, put this in your mouth, everything will be okay.
Yeah.
The golf ball, and then he's like, whack. I love that.
If you guys want to, if anyone hears this before you hear the next podcast, go watch the David Crowder Band rockumentaries.
They're so funny.
They are pretty funny. It shows the very comedy side of this band. And I think the writing skills of Mike Hogan, because he did most of their scripts and stuff.
Yeah.
And kudos to Mike Hogan on his violin playing here.
He's like, come on.
Like the way, honestly, he almost acts as a third guitar. Honestly, like the way he plays it through the pedal board.
Yeah.
His violin just basically acts as a third guitar, which I love. It goes
violin, mandolin, whatever the heck he wants to play. He just like you. 1 second the video's on him and he's playing a violin, then it goes over to David Crowder and then goes back to Hogan and he's got a freaking guitar in his hand.
He never plays the guitar.
I know, I'm just saying. He didn't have to. It's supposed to be funny.
Okay. So
that sizzled out. Okay, go ahead.
Let's go ahead and jump into the songs, the track listing. So it starts out with The Glory of It All, which is a great intro, though it does change their pattern of always starting out with a slow song.
Right.
Because the past 3 albums, they always started out with something kind of slower.
Right. I mean, this does kind of start out slow.
Yeah.
But then you're like, whoa, dude! When it goes into the chorus and it's like just full on 140 beats.
Indeed.
Or 120 beats. I guess that's more accurate.
And then it just kind of continues on until the first single that I remember from this album, Everything Glorious, which has, I would say, at least for their radio singles, one of their best guitar licks.
Right. Dun 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 dun.
Yes, that guitar lick. I also like when they played it live at the Dove Awards, they actually had like a crew of people slowly like building like a park around them. They put like trees out and like a swing, and then they were just like building a park around them while they was playing the song. So that by the end of the song, they had all this stuff growing around them because God makes everything glorious.
Yeah.
It was a cool live video. And then we go to I don't know, any comments on these songs thus far?
No, these are my childhood memories. For the most part.
It's funny. Sometimes the stuff we like the most, we just have nothing to say. It's just like, it's good. And then I love Never Ending. I honestly like this more because I heard the live version first. And then I went back and listened to the studio version. I'm like, it's just as good.
Never ending, always. You will never end, you always, you. I don't even know the words. All I know is never ending, and you have most of the song right.
I mean, but I like that song a lot. It's just the simplicity of it. Also, it feels like a cousin to No One Like You, which is my favorite song by them. So, feels like a cousin, and I like that a lot. And then the track list just kind of continues, I guess. I mean, there are several other good cuts on there. Oh for a Thousand Tongues. And then, of course, the title track, Remedy. And the final track, Surely We Can Change, was really the thesis statement for the whole entire album. Is the world is about to change because we bring that change. Kind of goes back to, like I said, be the change that you want to see, which is really the theme of the whole entire album.
Right.
So, what song stands out as your favorite, Solomon?
I like Remedy a lot. Like Remedy and Glory of It All are probably my two favorites on this album.
They're both very good at songs. Like, I almost would be curious what would have happened if their record label would have just released all 11 songs or 10 songs, sorry, as singles on the radio. I think they all 10 could have been hits
I did
potentially.
too. And then they
Like,
would have you realize this album would have sold like what? They would have been platinum or something on this.
I mean, maybe. The problem is it's expensive for record labels to promote something to the radio.
Right.
That is true, which is why they usually only have like 3 or 4 singles. And We Won't Be Quiet. I don't know if that one would have quite made it as a radio single. But really, all
That's a
the
very
other
fun live song.
Yes, We Won't Be Quiet. And then I'm not sure about Can You Feel It, if that would have made it as a radio single.
No, that's just like more of like a dance floor. Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
So what we're saying is they should have remixed this one into a remix
Can
album as
feel
opposed to
it.
Sunset and Sushi.
Yes. Well, Can You Feel It should be like a skate, like when the church goes to the roller skating thing, like every year. Then like, yeah.
There you go.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then jumping into on the same song, feeling any lyrics stand out to you? Solomon decided he had to yawn. I do apologize for the long silence. Continue.
I'm trying to think of any specific. Well, I like the the lyrics in "You're Glorious" or everything glorious. Which is kind of another one of those plays on words or
What
words
does that
like,
make me?
Like, you make everything glorious. You make everything glorious, and I'm yours. So what does that make me?
That one feels like a cousin, if you will, to Wholly Yours. Like Everything Glorious feels like the sequel to Wholly Yours, honestly.
Yeah.
So my favorite lyrics on the album have to go to Surely We Can Change, mainly for the first verse, or the intro, if you will. I don't know what you call it. But I like it a lot. It's a David Crowder solo work, and it sounds like it. But the problem is this: we were bought with a kiss, but the cheek still turned even when it wasn't hit. And I don't know what to do with love like that, and I don't know how to be a love like that when all the love in the world is right here among us, in hatred too. And so we must choose what our hands will do. That is a good verse.
Where there is grace.
Where there is pain, let there be grace.
Let there be grace.
Where there is suffering, let there bring serenity. For those afraid, help them be brave. Where there is misery, bring expectancy. And surely we can change
something.
I like that a lot. Like, that is hands down my favorite lyrics on the album. I feel like that is some class A. Because the problem we run into with worship music a lot is worship music, and this is ironic, really, but it becomes very inward focused.
Right.
Like, you would think of all genres, you wouldn't describe worship music as selfish, per se. I'm not saying it's selfish, but most worship songs are about how can I be saved, or how can I praise God more. I. And not that those are bad things. There are some very good worship songs about that. But I like seeing a worship song that is outward focused, and how can we serve others, and how does serving others worship God? Which I think is a very worthy question to be asked.
Very accurate. I like it.
So, man, I didn't really mean to go so quick. I guess now final thoughts on the album?
I don't know. I guess this is one, like you said earlier, it's just one of those things where it's like, our favorite stuff, we don't have a lot to say about it.
Well, I will say this then, moving into the final thoughts section, that I don't know that I can give this whole marks, because the problem is it's stellar. It is so good. But it doesn't stand out. It's like
It's kind of ironic.
I know, right? Like
It's talking about standing out.
like the album just does not stand out for me. I feel like this album, if this was their first album, it would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even if this had been, I would dare say, if this had been their last album, if they would have ended the album with this, it would maybe somehow stand better. But the problem, what happened here,
it just fit. It's not put in the right place.
Almost like thematically it works and everything, and it serves as a mirror because they're now to their 4-syllable bit. So remedy is 4 syllables.
Remedy.
3 syllables. Sorry, which mirrors their first album. Can You Hear Us? 4 syllables.
Yeah.
So 4 plus 3 equals 7.
I wonder if at any point in their whole discography they were like, oh crap, we wanted to put this there, but it's 3 syllables. Dang it.
So it works good mirroring the first album pretty well. I feel like the problem is it comes after A Collision, and then it is followed by Church Music. So it's right in between 2 giant, amazing albums.
Right.
Which just kind of makes you forget it exists sometimes.
Right.
So, musically, I'm going to give it a 2. Its music is class A, but not particularly ambitious.
Right.
Like it's very straightforward.
Yeah. Actually, they're all like 4 chords, same 4 chords for all the songs.
And that's not bad. Like I can't stress enough. This is an amazing album. It's just it doesn't stand out as much. And I read an interview. Dave Crowder said that after the ambitious A Collision, this was kind of a palate cleanser just to cleanse their system before moving on.
Right.
So 2 for music, same thing for lyrics. 2, and then finally 2 for how well it holds up. Like it's a very straightforward 6 out of 9.
I don't know if you should. I feel like you should. I feel like it should have a 3 for consistency.
Well, like I said, so you can give it your rating, but I give it. It's just it's every point on it falls just short of being amazing.
Well,
so I have to give it a 6 out of 9.
Because now it's gonna have a 6.5.
Well, what do you have here? Let's hear out your reasoning.
Well, crap, no. Yeah, the music, I'm gonna give it a 2. Obviously, same for the same reason you did. It's nothing like special, but it's good. It goes with what we're trying to do here. Lyrics, they have some deep lyrics.
I feel like the last song has the deepest lyrics. The other ones are so-so.
I feel like they have when I say deep, I don't necessarily mean oh wow, such great meaning. I mean great lyricism. But for the most part, a lot of them do have, deep heartfelt
I got you.
words. So I'd probably give the
2.5 maybe.
Probably 2.5, yeah.
For what you're going for, at least.
Yeah, and then consistency, because I don't think have we been doing it consistent by their entire discography or just consistent to the album?
I just said how well does it hold up against what they've done up to that point, and what was in Christian music during 2007.
Well, see, now this is the thing here, is I feel like I don't like even if the music isn't as good or the lyrics aren't as good, I feel like it's better for bad lyrics and bad music to agree than for good music and bad lyrics to mix. Mm-hmm. So even if this was worse than an album before, I'm gonna have to give this a 3 for consistency because the music goes with the lyrics.
Okay, that's fair.
So what am I at? That's
compared to everything they've done up to that point. Yeah. You still give it a 3.
Yeah. I'd still give that a 3 for consistency.
Okay, so that gives you a
2, 2.5, and a 3.
So
that's a
7.5.
So
6 divided by 7.5,
or minus 7, 7.5 minus 6.
So
no. So in between 6 and 7.5
would be a 7. No, that'd be like.
Be like 6 3/4.
I know 6 3/4. Should we just
give it a 7? or take it down a notch. I don't know.
Just give it a 7 and call it even.
That's the highest rating we've ever given, though.
No, we gave A Collision 9.
Oh yeah, we did. Never mind. Never mind.
We gave A Collision 9 out of 9, buddy.
Oh hey, this didn't make it too far.
So I guess 7.
7.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That is Remedy.
He's like so surprised that you got a 7.
I know, right? I guess if nothing else, I would call this David Crowder Band's Forgotten Gem. It's often overlooked in their discography, and it's a shame because it has some darn good songs on it. And next week we'll be looking at the companion album to this, the Remedy Club. I mean, it won't be next week exactly.
Remedy Club Tour.
The Remedy Club Tour. I don't know if we're going to be reviewing just the audio portion or if we're going to watch the DVD and review that too. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what the plan is here.
Yeah, we'll have to.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So until next time, feel free to contact us. As always, I'll put all the stuff in the links below. My name is Samuel.
I'm Solly.
And keep being the glimpse of eternity. Rock on.